Well, got off camera for a little bit, started goofing around, and what you're seeing the gas tank mount. What it ended up doing is just spinning it right over the back of the chair. Try to keep with this classic styling of this, I don't have no idea, rat rod, death trap rat rod. Sounds like a catchy name. What I ended up doing was I took these pieces, which were actually, they were back here. I believe, no, I'm sorry. They would come down, it would have done a curve and came outward. Oops, and dropped the file. So these pieces were cut off. It was part of the 10 inches lowering of the chair. Came back. Tripping over my welder. What I did is ended up welding these in first, and I didn't show none of this. I felt like it was pointless. These little tabs right here were actually right there, and what it was part of the this X frame that was in the center of the chair down low. So I ended up kind of just loosely bolting this in place, and I tacked it up right there. Took the other one. I misplaced the nut. I got it. Oh no, I didn't. But I ended up I had it the nut just loosely in place, basically just snug, just enough to hold it. And what it was, I took the tank off to finish after I tacked it. Took the tank off, finished welding that in place. Here is another odd bracket. Hopefully you can see that. It was, which one was that? It was a bracket off this chair somewhere. Just ended up finding it. Actually, no, that actually was a bracket I had on the old muffler, was for the golf cart. Just turned around, cut it. Had it very loose, had a little small gap, so I stitch welded it in there. Got that one done, and this was just another odd bracket. I had the perfect hole. I'm going to bring the angle grinder, we're just going to slice that off, try to clean up this nasty weld. Was having an issue trying to get a good penetrating weld right there. But the gas tank is in place, so that's another thing down. You can see the original line came through here and went up. All I did is just reroute it around the governor arm, or the linkage for the governor. And since we're going to be trying to get max horsepower, I think what we're going to end up doing is moving this little clamp to right under here. We're going to hook up the throttle right to this governor arm, and I think what I'm going to do is eliminate this arm completely. Sounds good to me, because once you crank this engine up, this will spring forward, and as you push this back, it'll end up engaging that. So that's that part. So we got the seat is basically fabricated up except for the pin mounts, I guess that's what I'm gonna call them. It's gonna be basically bolts welded onto the chassis with a bolt coming up through, and it's gonna have a pin I'll drill through, and it'll be 4 pins to keep the chair in place. So that idea is done. Can't believe this old air filter still holding up. I will buy a new element for it. It's done got out here, been wet. It's been ran through its paces. I might even actually go through Go Power Sports and actually buy the actual air cleaner for this. We'll go. I mean, I have the original setup, but we might go with like the aftermarket cone filter. I'm not sure yet. But we got a gas tank. So far, for right now, we're going to call the chair done, even though it just needs that. I could run my throttle line. I do have one for that, so I don't know. I might end up to go ahead and run the throttle line. Just trying to decide on everything up here. We still have to come up. We need a post coming through here, a post coming up for our steering, and somehow it's going to tie off. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. It is cooling off. Thank God the humidity was horrible today. We got a hurricane pounding North Georgia, South Carolina, and I think part of North Carolina is getting part of this hurricane. Down here in North Florida, we're just getting the sweltering humidity and heat. So that's why I really haven't shown you all much as I'm filming. I've just been kind of just knocking it out. I got the kids in the background playing on the trampoline, as y'all could hear, if over my loud voice. But she's coming along. I guess I've been kind of working from there forward. I still need to make spacers. Like these wheels, I kind of want them right about here. Still got to make a decent sized spacer so I can keep this wheel in the center of that one. Try to avoid bump steer and different things. Alright, I guess I'll go ahead and pick another thing to work on. We're going to keep just cracking them out of here until we get this whole thing done. Eventually, I got to figure out exactly what I'm going to do as far as throttle pedal, and I have the disc brake. I got the master cylinder. This is off the racing mower just the way I had it, so I'm not sure exactly. I guess I need to flip that around. I still got a little bit more fabricating to do, but we're trying to knock this out. I'm ready to go for a test drive. Well, y'all see, last thing for the day. I didn't exactly take my time, but I'm happy, but I'm not happy with it. Found a little piece of diamond plate, kind of like I used on the golf cart project. Yeah, I did, yeah. See, long day for me, guys. I'm sorry for babbling, but just took a piece of diamond plate. It was left over. Ran 4 self-tapping screws, which come out of the back. You won't see that because of the way the seat cushion will be on. Still got to rewire the electronics, rewire all this back down to here. And that's because originally for the racing mower and for the golf cart, all the wiring was lengthened, so still need to snatch the other half of all this. I'll re-butt connect everything or solder it and heat shrink it, hook it back all up to here so we can get the function of having that key. Now you can pull start this motor. You would just have to have that in the on position and pull start it. Or the best part is you can get ready to set your behind down, put the key in, twist it in on position, and it fires up. What we could do is we can turn around and put like a lawn and garden battery. We'll make a small battery box, put it right here in the front so it's not in the way of your feet. Then the steering comes up from here and you'll have your pedals up there so it'll still be comfortable enough to drive. That's awesome. Got to get this cleaned up. It's been sitting out here forever. I got that at the Turkey Rod Run, big old end of the year car show in Daytona. About an hour and a half, 2 hours from me. Drive every year. Every year we normally go. Last year I didn't make it, but it's alright. Mr. Gasket gave me a free keychain. We'll leave that in the on position. I still need to come in and tighten this outer nut, but we get the functionality of having the original, having an original key switch. What other chair cart needs? Hot rod needs a key, right? So why not? We'll get that cleaned up, make it look spiffy. So for my day, which will only be seconds, so far we're not doing too bad off. All right, as I'm babbling away, so for today we got this thing. Need to just cut a little bit out of here, even with the motor super tight. Get just a hair of chain flop. I don't like overstretching it, but I knew that might be an issue. We might actually just wait on that. So we got the chain hooked up. We have the gas tank mount. We got the key switch done. We've gotten the pedestal that holds the back legs to the chair. So the next thing is going to be so we can get this thing on its way to being done. I'll run, too late to do it today because the hardware is closed for the weekend, but I'll take this Monday morning, get a bolt that fits nice and neat in there, get 4 of them. We'll go ahead and weld them in place, make the pins. We got the key, so theoretically, if I could just get this thing wired up, we could go ahead and get this thing started up and let this motor run. Oh no, we still need to get the exhaust done. Still trying to decide on what I want to do for the exhaust. I still have this, which is the this is the original homemade exhaust for the cart. I'm actually thinking about ordering, they do have a stub out from Go Power Sports, which gives me the correct, it's the correct piece that goes in here. I believe the gasket is in there. Yes, the gasket is in there. What it does, it gives you the correct gasket, not the gasket, the flange, and it's threaded for 3/4 pipe. So I might just do that and just make my own exhaust. I haven't really 100% figured out about that. So until the next set of clips, y'all stay tuned and we're going to continue putting this thing together. Alright guys, getting back on this project. I have a little time to tinker, so I'm going to take advantage of it. Now, I don't remember in the last set of clips did I show you this, but this is from that bicycle that we plucked out of the ditch line, creek, whatever runs over there on that side of the property. Went ahead and snipped it off, and I know I should have went a hair more right here, and you can kind of see the gap. I have an idea how to connect this to this, which I want to strengthen all this up, because this is, if I put the torque converter on here versus centrifugal clutch, this thing's going to get very torquey. So I want to make sure all this is, the whole neck of this is connected to the chair properly. Went ahead, I don't remember if I've showed you all this, like I said in the last set of clips. I went ahead and took a nut the same as this one and welded it right to the bottom and put a piece of thread all and welded it as well. So basically it gives me a long shaft. Found this bracket had little ears coming off on each side. I went ahead and snipped them off, and basically it was the right width to straddle this frame. And there was like a hole, it's like one of them holes that has two flat sides. I guess it would have been for matter of fact, where do they go? It would have been for some of these. These are off a mower deck, but they happen to fit perfect in the little arm. And what I'm going to do, since my buddy he originally made this arm for the Barstool cart that was where this came from, what I'm going to do is actually just come up and just weld them like right there. I'm going to have two of them, just going to weld them right to the thread all, and I've got some nylon locking nuts, so that way we can connect the steering. As far as the chair, what I decided what I'm going to do is I went ahead and came in with the flap disc, and I've cleaned everything up. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and weld the chair. I'm not going to do where it could be removable. If I have to pull this motor for any reason later on, I have my own ways of doing it, so I'll just worry about that at that particular time. But if this project runs the way I anticipate this motor staying, we're going to have a fun project. So I've got the welder cranked up, whatever you want to say. It's ready. What I'm going to do is go ahead and zip this chair. We're going to go ahead and weld up the chair to the frame. We're going to make that solid and rigid. I'm going to go ahead and take care of the steering, and we're on our way to calling this project done. So I guess without further ado, it's time to start welding it up. Alright, so I got the entire chair. The entire chair is definitely, it's a part of the cart now. Steering's done. I even went back and I had one of the frame pieces where it meets the original go-kart front end. Went ahead and zapped that in. Let me turn you all around. You kind of see now. There is perfect steering. I went ahead and just put a tack weld on the other side on top and bottom of the nuts. They're snug. I left just a little bit of playroom just so that way it allows me where I can still have the steering. It's got a hell of a turn radius, but odds are it's going to push instead of, probably right about there is going to be ideal. Never know. I don't know if I mentioned this on camera the last time I was filming, or I might not even, I think I might have done it like last week. It was on a Sunday. Had a bunch of washers that were a hair too small, so I took my step bit, opened them all up just to make a spacer for in there. I did the same for both wheels. So the entire thing is done right now. Still would like to fit a battery. I want to fit a battery under here for to power the starter, because I really don't want to pull start this thing. This thing is a beast to pull start, especially like when it's I guess like I said, like the bowl's out of fuel right now since it's been sitting. I ran it last. I ran all the fuel out the bowl. The welder kind of gave me hell. This thing was, as soon as the new shop is opened, this thing is going to the garbage. I love the Harbor Freight welders. For a beginner, they're fine, but I've been welding now for like 6 years or more. It's time for me to go ahead and buy a proper welder with gas. I'm thinking Miller, Lincoln. I don't even care at this point. I just want something better than this. This thing is so inconsistent, and after they get old, like you see, I have it set on 3. Normally it'd be set on 4.5, 5, actually about 4, 4.5, somewhere in there, to weld thicker steel. To get a cleaner looking weld, now I'm having to go down to 3, and it took me forever to figure out that adjustment. But all my welds, they look ugly, but they're holding. I can't even believe that. Like every single time I go to use this thing, you have to sit there and basically waste a little bit of the wire just to figure out where the new setting is going to be at, because it constantly moves on this thing. Went ahead, like I stated, on this side it looks like utter crap. On the other side it's perfect, because by then I already figured out the sweet spot to get a nice penetrating weld. Like this is penetrating, but they look ugly. But on the other side it looks dead perfect. But went ahead and welded these, tightened up the nuts. That ain't going nowhere. Handlebars, I do have, I believe, a set of BMX handlebars coming to me. I put it out there on my Facebook, and I'm in a small community now, thank God. I love it being in a small community, unlike a big city, and all my buddies are coming to the rescue. As soon as I mentioned I need a set of bicycle handlebars, everybody was just like it was forever. Just everybody was constantly like, hey, what do you want? What do you want? I've got this. Told them I really don't care. BMX, beach cruiser doesn't bother me. BMX I think would be ideal because they will come up to about here, I believe. So I think that will be perfect, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and wait on. I believe also I'm going to go ahead and use a handbrake for the throttle, so it eliminates one less thing I got to have down here. I guess when I get back on this project, a couple things to figure out. Number one, how am I going to... I got to run the screws up for the seat, but I knew that was going to be an issue with making this thing rigid. So I don't even care at this point. It's fine with me. We're going to go ahead and... Seat's going to be least of my worries. The next thing I think I'm going to concentrate on is how to install the battery, and I'm thinking the battery's going to go up in here. But I do have a dead lawn and tractor battery, so we're going to go ahead and plug that in here. I believe that should be ideal. If I have to, I will put it right here, so it doesn't bother me as long as I do have electric start, because went ahead, still need to clean up this green surfboard from Mr. Gasket. It was at the Daytona Car Show. I'll be able to put a key in, turn it, and get this thing to fire up just like an actual hot rod. So next step I believe is going to be the battery. We still have we're going to go ahead and reuse that Volkswagen muffler to muffle this thing down, because it definitely makes it look like a hot rod. But I do have a quick treat, so I'm thinking let me go ahead and bring this out, and I'll show you as soon as I get done installing it. Well, as I promised, told you I had a creative idea. These are tail lights or running lights, I don't know what you exactly call them. I need to tighten that up a hair more. These are for like a 1972 Yamaha, I want to say it was a DT 125, I believe was the model. I was like, hell, why not? Maybe we can even find a creative. These are going to get tightened up, cut these extra studs down, maybe a creative license plate there in case I want to take it near the main road. Went ahead and bent this little bracket. What I'm thinking is I just had a light, except this one ain't gonna work. This is off my mini bike project, so I'm thinking maybe a LED light, so that way we're not consuming too much power. And can't have the back lights without the front ones. Maybe we'll mount them on the handlebars, some little brackets. Y'all gotta excuse that. That's something I rarely hear out here, which is airplanes, jets, or helicopters. But I'm thinking something like that, so we can have little running lights at night. And since they were a reuse, I love stuff that are free. We're not trying to pay for anything. Reuse everything we got for free, and that's what this whole project was about. Everything was paid for at one time or another, but since it's just sitting idle, to me it's free. I had to buy new wheels for the go-kart project, so I got these. I've had a bunch of golf cart tires. I've had all this stuff's just been laying around. I think total, what did I spend? I think originally I said maybe $16, but technically no, I spent $16 on another project, which these became leftovers. So really I have barely anything invested. Alright, so on the next set of clips, I think what we're going to do, since we have steering, we have a couple of lights, I'm waiting on who's going to bring me up what handlebars, we'll put them on. As soon as the handlebars go on, I'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and run a throttle line down. Then as fast as we can go forward, we're going to need to stop. So dig this out. We're going to have to figure out how to reinstall this. This is from the Racing Lawnmower Project. That is, I believe, an MPC. I believe that's the manufacturer. It's for the hydraulics, for the caliper and the brakes in the back. So we don't have much more to go. We need a battery mount, handlebars, basically make it go and stop, which is throttle and brake. So I guess that's it for this set of clips. Y'all stay tuned. There's going to be more as we continue, hopefully either having fun or possibly killing ourselves on the death trap. Well, we got the handlebars situation figured out. Let's see. I got that bicycle I'm using for parts and this one for parts. And what I did is, you can notice, swipe the handlebars off that unit. So we'll have some other parts for other future projects laying there. This one was donated to the shop. Something with the gearing is messed up, I believe. But I do have a motorized bike project that I bought last year. Matter of fact, about the same time, roughly. So that bike is going to be coming out for a future video. So I could use a couple parts off this one. But we're talking about the death trap. So what I did is I went ahead and swiped one of the brake levers, and what I'm going to do, this is going to be the throttle for it. It's going to be kind of low. I really wanted more of a BMX style, but I don't know, I think this might just work. If you notice, it doesn't fully fit 100% into, well, I guess it does on the bottom. I was figuring something like that. Use the little mount to bolt it down. The only issue that I've come across is that these screws are like an eighth too short from reaching right there. So what I'm going to do is go get something that's a little bit bigger. And I figured let's take a trip to the local hardware store, which is right up the road. We'll leave that there. In the future, once I get this project, hopefully as we get it running, and if it's running and I like it and all, we're going to go out and get some nice grips. We'll probably just hit Wally World or wherever I can find a cheap set of nice grips for this. So that's going to be the agenda for the day. We need some screws for this, so we can go ahead and mount the handlebars and go ahead and run the throttle line. And we're definitely not too far off from getting this thing on a test ride. A couple of things that I did notice. This right here needs a washer and a nut on the bottom, which I totally forgot from the last project this came off of. When my buddy disassembled it, he gave it to me as is. The front end was just really thrown in a horde of parts, so we got that to do. Still got to mount the brake caliper, which gave me a couple of different ideas how to do that, so still got to get on that idea. But first is first, let's take a trip to the hardware store and let's go ahead and get the little screws for this.